And we begin with Norwin, and 6 points came off of this one because Giovanni Rotroff's incredible season continued on Friday against the Spartans, highlighted by this unbelievable run late in the first quarter to put Norwin in the lead, with Dave Franzak and Brian Brzezinski detailing that score.
But just trying to make positive yards off the off coverage.
And off goes the Rotroff. Again, has a hold of the 40. Keeps moving. 50, 40, 30, 20. Has one man to beat. Gets out of the ankle tackle and into the end zone.
I tell you what, some people might question G's ability to have breakaway speed. Well, that just got answered right there because son of a gun, the little bowling ball is able to go ahead and withstand any type of contact right there and keep his feet not only inbounds, but outrun the second defender and get it into the pylon. Great run by G. Rotroff right there.
67 yards on the carry.
One of many big plays in the game, and there you go. Gio Rotroff with a massive one. Was one of my special guests this year, actually last week, on Westmoreland on the gridiron. And, man, those guys up front for Norwin, they continue to kick some butt, and Gio breaks a big one right there.
Well, we'll continue plays of the week in that very same game on the Hempfield side of things because the Spartans had an answer in the third quarter. Anthony Corello produced a defensive score that put the Spartans back in the lead, once again with Dave and Brian captioning that video.
Wanting to throw, and again down the seam, it's tipped up and intercepted. Open field for Corello. Touchdown.
Yeah, and so, you know, as we talked about previous, it was nice the first time that Tristan was able to go ahead and make that pass to Josh Leonard, putting her on kind of right where he thought he was going to be. And unfortunately that time had a little bit more coverage than what he could squeeze it into, resulting in the pick six.
A 30-yard pick six.
Well, at the time, Sean, that was a gigantic play for Hempfield. If they win the game, you know, we talked about Jake Knight doing a couple of little things, the interceptions, downing the punt. That would have been looked at as one of the biggest plays of the game. Not only did he intercept it, he had to tip it to himself, picked it off, ran it back for a touchdown. Great stuff there. Hempfield defense coming up with a huge play. And again, if the Spartans are able to win that game, you have to look back at that play. Unfortunately for them, they weren't able to do so.
Anthony Corello certainly deserves full marks for that. Ultimately, it wasn't quite. We continue plays of the week with Penn Trafford and the Warriors. They overcame a big halftime deficit against Gateway. Ben Grabowski was probably the biggest catalyst in that comeback. His powerful run set the tone in the second half. And as a bonus, I love bonuses, the Warriors also got tricky on a 2-point conversion with myself and Sean Benjamin calling the sequence.
At the 42. Hand off to Grabowski. And he shows some strength, and he's still on his feet. Grabowski cuts it back, trying to go the distance, and he will. 58 yards for Ben Grabowski.
Right on cue, didn't lose a step. He did. Ben Grabowski with a nice job taking it to the outside. Had a couple guys trying to go for the football, but he was able to break past and go the distance for the 6. You look here, guys trying to make the tackle. Someone tried to go for the football there, missed. Good cutback. And the Warriors get the 6. Much needed here to start the second half. And they're going for 2.
This would make it a one-possession game.
Number 5 back in the game.
That's Giacomelli. He's got 3 receivers to his right. He's going to jump pass, and it's caught by Briggs. Channeling his Tim Tebow. Giacomelli to Briggs for 2.
Ben Grabowski, just like that, gets right back on track. Huge play early on in the third quarter to turn the momentum Penn Trafford's way. And then that 2-point conversion, Sean, the one thing that got cut off there was Sean Benjamin talking about the first thing that it reminded him. By the way, I had to tell him behind the scenes, I was like, Sean, that reminded me of the state championship game in which Penn Trafford beat Imhotep on well, they didn't beat him on the jump pass, but it was one of the big plays in the game, late in the game. Conlon Green, with the jump pass. Tim Tebow, Conlon Green, both big dudes. And right there, Giacomelli not quite as big, but that was a huge 2-point conversion for the Warriors.
Yeah, ultimately, that I think was the play that sparked them back in that game. Jeanette is next for Plays of the Week, and it was the Jayhawks night in the rivalry matchup against Greensburg Central Catholic, and it did not take long for the home team to take that lead. Keimani Brown and Xavier Odorizio Ferro hooked up on a spectacular score just over 2 minutes in, with Brent Wiggum and Anthony D'Annunzio highlighting that connection.
Does look like they're lined up going for it, though, as he's going to look near side, now goes back far side. Feels some pressure. Slides away from it. Now needs to find some room to be able to throw it. He is going to find the room. Ball downfield, and it is caught, and it is going to be a touchdown. Jayhawks on the board as Keimani Brown scrambles for his life and finds the receiver open for a touchdown on the far side of the field.
Xavier Odorizio Ferro found his way behind the secondary, came down with the football. Keimani Brown running, was being chased in the backfield by James Bodeye. Keimani ran about 35 yards, maybe 40 yards before he got rid of the football, found XOF at about the 10-yard line and into the end zone for the score.
XOF seems to have a flair for the dramatic, huh? After the big dunk in the basketball playoffs last year, he comes up with a jumping catch there, and Keimani did a great job keeping that alive. The Greensburg Central Catholic defensive back almost came down with a nice interception there as well, just snuck by him. And that made the catch maybe even harder for the guy they call, or at least Brent calls him, XOF, to make the catch.
I'm wondering, we're going to hear from Thomas Malone, I'm wondering throughout that entire sequence, he's probably saying, no.
Yes.
Because that looked like it was going to be disastrous a few times for Jeanette. But big-time player made a big-time play. Really two guys that were big in that victory. Well, we'll continue Plays Week with Greensburg Central Catholic, and although his team came up short, Samir Crosby did everything in his power to keep the Centurions in the game, beginning with an 80-yard run just moments after Jeanette's first score, once again with Brent and Anthony on the call.
Justin Sanders, the lone safety right now. At the beginning of the season, Powell and Hunter Schaefer were the safeties. They are both hurt. Here comes Crosby. Look at him. He does not let the first, second, third guy go. And Samir Crosby is not going to be caught once he finds the open field. How about an 80-yard touchdown run? Samir Crosby's back, and he puts the GCC Centurions on the board.
Such a pivotal piece of the puzzle for the Centurions is Samir Crosby. Getting the football in his hands is always something that you have to be aware of if you're the defenders. And that time the Jayhawks saw it, but they didn't get to see it for very long because Samir took off 80 yards into the end zone. 6 points for the Centurions.
Think that'll make up for the fumble, huh?
Absolutely.
Samir Crosby banged up 2 weeks ago against Brentwood. Did not play last week against Riverview, but he is off and running here tonight after that 80-yard touchdown.
Well, after Jeanette scored their first touchdown, Greensburg Central Catholic scored at 7-7 right off the bat. Just a couple minutes into the game, you knew it was going to be one of those types of games. The Jayhawks did a nice job, again, building up that lead at halftime. But nice to see Samir Crosby put another highlight reel play together. Of course, he did in the second half as well, and doing it against his former teammates.
Absolutely. That was a great game. Some really high-skilled performances. We conclude Plays of the Week with Greensburg Salem and Brody Chismar. He was special in a loss against Mount Pleasant area. He managed to keep a play alive that really looked doomed from the start. And miraculously, he then connected with Jackson Stevie for a highlight touchdown.
That was absolutely amazing. Chismar gave up so much ground there, stayed alive. He went south, then went north, and somehow he's able to get the ball away and get a touchdown. Now, I know there's no commentators there. We did not broadcast that game on WSN, but it was sent in to us, and I'm like, we got to use it. We got to include this in Plays of the Week because it was, as you could see, it was awesome. So Peyton, that one's for you, man.
Yeah, well, that's a guy that they absolutely need. And remember that he did not play the prior week, but when he has played, Chismar's been one of the best guys at quarterback position in Westmoreland County this season. That shows why. That is a pretty special play there in the loss against Mount Pleasant.